Okay, so this is a video to show the calibration of the Teensy spectrometer. Okay, so we're going to run this thing out of the processing user interface, and we've got our spectrometer attached on COM5. When it came up, it said immediately connected on COM5. If it did not, you hit the connect button and it should connect, and if it doesn't, that probably means your COM port needs to be reset. So that's one thing to look at. Down here it says serial number, and this is what you get if there's no serial number in the EEProm, right? There's supposed to be a serial number in your non-volatile memory. So let's just set a serial number. All right, so what you do when you have something like this, if we want to set the serial number, we come over to this box, we click in there, and we will backspace until all the X's are gone. We'll type in the serial number that we want to have, and let's say we want to call this JS star 1. Okay, so those are my initials, just showing you that we can put any kind of ASCII character in there. At this point, we hit the set serial button, and that serial name will be transferred to the non-volatile memory of the Teensy microcontroller. Now when we hit the connect button, it should say JS star 1 like we've put in there, right? That doesn't just read this is written into the non-volatile memory. Okay, so we now have our spectrometer connected. We have a name set to it. Let's run a spectrum. Okay, and what you see here is we have this very large baseline, and we have this maxed out up here. You can see this peak is not doesn't have the peak shape that you're expecting. So first of all, let's deal with this value for the baseline. And what we want to do is change this low reference number here. So the smaller the number, the closer this will get to the 0 point where we want it. So let's just back that down to 400 and see how that affects the spectrum. Once we put a number in here, we have to set it into memory by hitting set reference. Otherwise, it's not going to affect the spectrum. Hitting that again, this value is much lower now, but it's not quite what we want. So let's put in another number, let's say 350. We'll hit the set reference, we'll hit the go button, and it accepted that. All right, let's try that again just to make sure that wasn't an anomaly. No, that looks pretty good actually. All right. Okay, so one thing we know is that this peak is too high. We're getting too much intensity because this is not a good well-defined peak. So let's turn down the amount of time that we are requiring the spectrum, the integration time. Let's hit that again, see what happens. All right, so now we're down way below the baseline. I should have set the integration time before doing this because now we got something screwed up. So we need to make this a larger number and try that again. So we're going to hit that button again. That should be on scale, but it's not. Okay, let's bump that up to 400. All right, that is a little high. Pretty soon here. Okay, so that looks pretty good, except for this little piece right there. Let's just make sure that's not an anomaly, which it kind of is. 389 looks like a really nice number there, right? Okay, so that is our low value, our low reference. Now we have to set the high reference. And what we want to do is set the high reference so that when we max this thing out, okay, the maximum maximum intensity should be the full scale of our A to D converter, which is 64,000 counts. Okay, so let's put a 2 in there again, hit the start run. And let's see, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, that's less than 5,000 counts, right? So we want to change this high reference number so that when we max it out, it's not going to be, well, it'll be at 65,000. So we're going to set that reference, 64,000. All right, now you can see that this is 64,000, and we got this kind of buggered up looking peaks here, and that's an issue, right? So we're going to let's make this a little bit smaller, and we'll change this back to 1 millisecond of integration time and see what we get. All right, that looks nice. We have this really sharp peak. We have another sharp peak over here. We are not maxing stuff out. Okay. All right. So that's the high and low reference, which adjusts the scale in the Y direction, in the intensity direction. Now let's set the wavelength scale. Right? So we have this box over here that we can drag across and see where everything is, and this peak should be at 404.6, but it's at 439.9. Okay? Don't worry that that box is not centered on where the lines are. We're trying to put this line on the very top. So what we want to do now is we want to click on that button, which is our reference for 404.6 nanometer wavelength, and we want to select it. So we have this select wavelengths. We got the refine and the right cal buttons down here. So we're going to select that peak as our 404.6, and that's at what is that called? Pixel number 472. Now we're going to drag this over to the high peak right there. And it doesn't matter that you get absolutely on the top. It's going to select the highest peak that's within a certain tolerance of that point. So we're going to select that one. We'll come over to this next. What have I done? I've screwed this up, haven't I? Damn it. Okay, I think that is our 404.6. We're going to select that one again. Okay. Now we're going to pick this one. This is our 435.8, and this is our 546. This guy over here should be at 611. This guy down here, that little guy there, is 631. All right, now we have our pixel number associated with each wavelength, and we need to do a least squares refinement to correlate wavelength with pixel number. Okay, so we're going to select all of these that we want to use in our refinement, and then we're going to hit the refine button, and it's going to change the wavelength scale here. So let's do that. Boom. All right, now let's take a look at where these things are. That is supposed to be at 631, and we're just a little on one side of that. Let's get it on, well, there's a certain level of precision that I have. Anyway, 630.7, not far off, and you see we're on the low frequency, low wavelength side of that. This guy should be at 611.6. I had it at 611.7 just a second. There it is. This guy should be at 546.1. This guy should be at, come on, get on there. There it is. At 435.8. You see they're just a little bit off, but not too bad. 404.6. All right, so these things are all looking really good at this point. They're a little off, but not too bad. So now what we want to do is take the values that were determined from our refinement write them into the non-volatile memory on the microcontroller. And we do that just by clicking the right cal button. All right, so everything should be in there. The only thing we haven't talked about is this save button, and that's just saving the spectrum here, right? So if we hit save, we'll get a dialog box asking us where we want to save it to, and we give it a name, and this is visible spectra January 5, 2022. Okay, and we'll just save that there. And then if we want to get in there, we can get in and poke around in the CSV file using any kind of spreadsheet program that we have available to us. All right, and I'm thinking I should let this go, call it there. That's about all I wanted to say, and the dogs are making me nuts, so we'll have to do something about that. All right, hope that helps.